Welcome back, everybody, to the Deconversionists with your hosts, Alan Bondar and Elliot Christopherson. I got my coffee here. We're going to have a really fun discussion tonight. I hope you are joining us and throwing your comments in because we have with us tonight Deconverted Man, Dan Green. Woo! Wait. I gotta get to my my media assets here. Hang on. I'm losing the moment. Okay. Did you hear that, Dan? Because Elliot can never hear it. Well, he heard it.
I heard
wow.
it.
Yeah, so it's you, man. You're just you're dysfunctional, man.
It's got to be my phone.
It's got to be.
I don't have a webcam and I don't have the headphones, so I'm way behind. I'm back in 2010 on FaceTime.
Am I supposed to yell my name now? Or did I miss my opportunity? Okay.
No,
I don't want to do it anymore.
Dan, it's great to have you here tonight.
Dude, I've done it every time. I'm tired of yelling my name.
Really glad you joined us, man. It's great to have you. You have your own channel, obviously called Deconverted Man. Quite a number of followers. People love to listen to you. It's pretty interesting. And you just kind of go and you just talk. It's neat.
Yeah, I the live stuff I think has made me a little bit lazy because editing videos obviously takes longer, and I work at it more and think about it more and do more with it. But it's like, well, you never know what's gonna hit or not hit, and people seem to like live stuff. It's easier to do it, and so it's just like I just want to get this, eat it up in an hour and be done with it and move on. I haven't found something like really worth doing an edited video on, if that makes sense. Like if it's something that I really want to make a really well polished point about, then I'll do a regular video, but otherwise I'll do live. So
right, but they're great though. You give a lot of great insights. It's a lot of fun to watch. Obviously, like I said, you've got a lot of followers, so it's a privilege to have you.
Yeah, I like to think I have quality, not quantity.
So you're like you do it like a radio talk show. You just press play or press record, and you just go for it.
I'll find a video and I'll live analyze it for logical fallacies and try to point those out as I catch them, or scientific errors, or both. And just then, if I can't find anything of that nature because they're just so wrong, I'll just complain about them being wrong and yell at them and make faces and say things, whatever comes to my mind, I guess, and try to make it entertaining, but I try to also challenge myself and others. Like, we're human. We're going to have the same issues of pattern seeking and things, our own beliefs that we need to challenge, and be mindful that we can just as easily believe in all sorts of things without being skeptical of it. So, we have to be ever skeptical of our own ideas, whatever those ideas may be. And, just because it's easy to knock down religious types, that doesn't mean that we're immune to the same sort of thought patterns, just in different areas of life. It's not God for us. It might be, fill in the blank, whatever it is. And so be aware of that. Learn informal logic. That's always my thing. I was like, hey, have you learned informal logic yet? Go learn it. Have you already learned it? Good. Relearn it. Make sure you know it. Because I was like, even I have to brush up on it.
Sure.
So,
well, I'm really impressed at your ability to spot logical fallacies. Because when Ellen was doing that so-called debate last week, like you actually had a grand total of logical fallacies that his opponent made.
Yeah, he did. I might have miscounted, but it got about 14. It was an even split, oddly enough. No reason there. It's just that's what it was. He was like about 7 ad balliums and 7 circular arguments, because he kept just going Bible, 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 Bible. And I'm like, yeah, and what's your argument? Don't care about the Bible. And then the ad hominem, it's kind of like a weaker version of ad hominem, I suppose, where he was attacking the probable motives that Alan has rather than any arguments. Like, oh,
Right.
you want this or that. It's like I kind of want to develop my own fallacy for it, but it's not official. It's just called mind reading or special knowledge, depending on what people want to call it, because you don't know what the label will necessarily be. But either way, mind reading / special knowledge would be if and when somebody says, oh, you're thinking this, you're feeling that, or you don't feel this, you don't think that. And so they're telling you what you think and feel. And that's obviously logically impossible. So I would, it's kind of already fallacies already cover it, but I want it to be its own thing. But it's not official. But I've labeled things as that before in different videos I've done in the past. So maybe it will catch on. Who knows?
Yeah. As soon as you start an argument with the word you're no longer making an argument.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're just saying that because you have a beard, Like, wait a minute. We all have beards. What are you talking about?
Right.
I love, when people tell me what I think and feel or what I don't think and feel and believe in that. This guy just whatever the last live thing I did was in the chat, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't really try hard enough to you weren't really sincere when you were praying to God." I'm like, okay, you're just trolling at this point, because I was just complaining about that's a thing that you could always say, this whole idea you have to be sincere is an ever retreating goalpost. And the whole reason that people, I think, say it is it's nothing to do with you. It's all about them and protecting their own mind from thinking that they ever could deconvert or lose faith or whatever, because that causes cognitive dissonance, and that's not pleasant. So it's easier to pretend, oh, the Unraveler, when he was a believer, he didn't really have a genuine belief, or Elliot, he didn't pray he wasn't very humble, and so that's why they deconverted. Deconverted Man, he just wanted to live a sinful life, so that's why he deconverted, and that won't happen to me. So I can just pretend these things and protect my mind from stepping into their shoes.
Right. I get that a lot about this conversation. I mean, usually every offline debate I have with somebody ends up there. Well, you just have to have faith. You just got to turn your life over to Jesus.
Yeah, you just haven't.
Read
the Bible. What do
I need to do different than I did last time? Like, I don't understand. Like, how was I not sincere? I devoted 42 years of my life to it. How is that not sincere? Like,
yeah, it's their assumption is that if you don't come to the right conclusion, then there's automatically something wrong with you. Like,
yeah,
you have to come to their conclusion.
The true believer would never stop being a believer. That sort of thing. And it's really about intellectual protection for the self, not anything that we actually have done. We know our own mind. They don't know our mind, and so this puts it outside of the realm of debate into the realm of psychology, where it's like, well, I can project onto you my faults, my fears, so that then I'm safe from it, and it just makes it easier. This is something like apologists will say atheism is a religion. This is a projection. This isn't true, but it's easier to categorize it. Everybody's a religion. Everybody has faith because everybody's the same as we are, and now we're on an even field. It's just you need more faith. Like, okay, so faith is bad, so we should try to have as little faith as possible, which makes me a skeptic, not a believer. How does that work?
Right.
So
if you're just joining us, let me remind you, the goal tonight is to take comments from the chat room here and then let it guide our conversation. We've got two great minds and me tonight joining here to just answer your questions and dialogue and see where the conversation goes. While you're thinking of those, we, of course, have Deconverted Man here as our special guest. I'm very excited that he's here. I want to just get a chance for the audience to know you and for Elliot and I get to know you a little bit. How did your story go, Dan? Like, is that he's also very silly, and it's a lot of fun. But Dan, you were a Christian. Tell us a little bit about your story. And obviously, you're not converted man, and you're also not just man. You're deconverted man. So
Yeah.
obviously, you have a story. Why don't you tell us?
Yeah, I tell the story in full in my book, Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, and I came up with that title because it was the shortest title I could think of. Uh, but I wrote that I started writing it like the pretty much almost a couple of days after I deconverted, and so it was a lot of raw emotion, and then it continued on. Took some years to get it all finally in there and done, and I'm sure there's things I could have improved or changed with it that but I was like, okay, it's done. I'm happy with it, and I spend a lot of time talking about my religious experience and I was a Christian from the age of 8 to 32. So I remember when I was 8 years old, maybe a little bit older. I think it's 8, so I'm sticking with it. I asked for a Bible for Christmas. So then I was like, okay, I want to be a Christian. I want to do this thing that we're going to this church, and I'm not a Christian. I want to be this Christian thing that everybody is. So, and I felt like I took it seriously, as seriously as a kid can, and then you're a teenager, I went to youth group and things like this, and I took it more seriously, trying to, what does God want me to do with my life? What are these spiritual gifts? Maybe I have those, and really talking to God and praying to God and trying to figure out what God wants me to do in life. Is this right or wrong? What's my purpose? Why have I been put here? Am I being tested? Is this what God wants me to do? And all these things that just were magical thinking that really, looking back, I think, interfered with my life more than anything else. If I hadn't had those ideas, I would have made different choices. I don't know if they would have been better or worse, but they wouldn't have been based on these beliefs, But I always had positive experiences with church and prayer, and I only had maybe a couple of churches that were weird churches that I visited a couple times or whatever.
Was that my church that you came to?
Huh?
Was that my church?
I don't know. Well, I went to when I was in the military once upon a time when I was 18. A couple of weeks ago. There was this one church that always was recruiting people from the base, and they all had these little ribbons and stuff. And I was like, okay, why are they all like doing that? That's kind of weird. And they're all kind of like, it's just the vibe felt off to me. And like their pastor was sick, so they're all praying for the pastor. I'm like, didn't this happen last time? And then their pastor got better, and now he's sick again. Like, are they like? Is this some sort of like thing that they do? Like, are they? They're just trying to get money from us because they know that we have money and don't know what to do with it. Like, it didn't. It's just something seemed off about it. It seemed culty-ish. But I don't know if they were or weren't. But then there was this other one, different time when I was a little bit older in the military, where we somehow got to this church where it was a farm and a church, and also they had like a separate building for young youth that were like at-risk youth that they were like helping to reform, and like they were treating them kind of boot camp-ish style, and we're like, it's like boot camp but with Jesus, or and like I was like, well, it's nice that they're helping out these people that have gone down the wrong path, and this is really good. And they had fresh milk, and I just like got to taste what recently pasteurized fresh milk tastes like, and it's
That's
just
cool.
like, this is like the most milk that will ever have. And I can't describe it. It was just like, well, that's milk. Yeah. And so we thought that was cool, but they had the separation. Men went to one service, and women went to the next service. Because you don't want the women with the men, because the men will look at the women and it will distract them. I'm like, right. but the male pastor has to be a male pastor. So that was kind of weird, we went once, and that was it for us. But it's nothing bad. It was just odd that it was this combination of things, that this church was a working farm and a church, and they had this like boot camp for troubled teens. All these things were happening at the same time. So you got to imagine they're getting some money to do all that. I went to a Pentecostal church. I have to speak with the tongue. It's like that never happened. But I like the dancing, and like, hey, we all get to dance and be silly, yay! This is fun, And but then I kind of thought about the problem that they presented me, which was that if you don't speak with the tongues, you're not really saved. You don't have the Holy Spirit. So then, if that's true, all the other Christians are screwed. That's not fair. So that doesn't sit right with me. Later, I went to a church, First Church of Christ, and that pastor was like, yeah, you have to be baptized full immersion, and you have to understand that, or it doesn't count. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, what about the people like on the battlefield? They're sometimes given last rites, given the baptism right there as they die. He's like, no, they're in hell. Oh,
geez.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, his dad was dead. He's like, yeah, my dad's in hell. He was a Baptist preacher, so he's in hell. And I'm like, but he was a Baptist. He was a believer. He's like, yeah, but he did it the wrong way, so he's in hell. Okay, so I'm like, well, if that's true, every Christian is screwed that doesn't believe this. And then, so, that kind of got the wheels maybe turning, that I was like, that doesn't seem fair. And I always believed that our thing is fair. But then I started looking at it as like, the world, is about 33% Christian. That means everybody else is screwed. That doesn't seem fair. Why would that be? But I was doing then as I got older and older, I started doing YouTube, and all these pesky atheists kept asking me for evidence. Oh, I want evidence. Oh, come on, guys. Why do you keep asking me for this? I know we have it, right? Because obviously, right? And I'm like, well, and I was in the chat room, and I was like, why don't we just give them the evidence? This one guy was like, well, even if we gave it to them, they wouldn't believe it. And I was like, I don't know that that's true. Why don't we just give it to them? Because they keep asking for it. So you're not going to do it. I guess I'll have to do it. So I got off the YouTubes and I started research and looked for the evidence. Anyway, so now I'm a skeptic because I didn't find anything. So, that's how that went.
Hey, this is a good place to pause and leave your story in some tension, because I did promise you to let the floor guide the conversation. So let's pause there. And if we have time, let's come back to that. So where we're leaving off is you providing evidence, finding none, and saying, whoa, this is weird. So let's pause for a second. And Deconverted Man, give us the answer to this question, or at least start us in our conversation. Lily says, wish I could have made the stream, but duty calls. But my question is, where does math come from?
Humans.
Yep.
There you go.
I concur.
Very, very simple.
Yes. Yeah. And it's always being changed and modified to make more sense as we go along.
Yeah. We invented it. Calculus was invented, trigonometry was invented. All these things were invented based on simple observations of the world that we have. And then more complicated ideas came from those. We abstracted some of those ideas into things that aren't really, you start simple, 1 apple, 2 apples, but then you get like negative apples. Well, because you owe somebody an apple, and then you can get into imaginary apples that aren't really apples, but they're useful to pretend that they're apples. So that's where it comes from. If our universe was different, then math would be different. So math is based on the local reality we observe. And if that local reality was fundamentally different, then our math would be fundamentally different. I would suspect, but I don't know, that, anywhere in our solar system, math is going to work the same way. I don't know if that's true in the entire universe. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but, I don't know if it's safe to assume that everywhere you go in the universe is the same. Maybe in a black hole, math starts to be weird because, time warp or whatever. And then again, it's going to be really hard to do math because you're becoming a spaghetti, so, I don't know what that would be like. But it's just based on, it doesn't come from anywhere other than our invention. And there would still always be a tree, but there's nobody to label it one if there's nobody around. So the words don't have any further substance in the broader universe. They're only there because we made them up. They're what's called a object of the mind. So
that's a great answer. Elliot, you want to add anything?
Well, it's super simple. I don't know why people keep using math as some kind of proof of God. Math is a tool. We create tools. If tools don't work, we discard the tools. So that's all it is. Abstract concepts have to come from a mind. They're not a thing. Like I can't carry around math with me. It's immaterial. It comes from a mind, and it's a cognitive tool that works, and it works so well we keep using it.
Couldn't say it any better. All right, that covers that. Lily also says, just playing devil's advocate, if I was on the stream, I would challenge the majority of atheists that support abortion at 91% while saying Yahweh killing babies is bad. Thoughts? I don't understand the 91%. Do you guys understand that part?
I don't understand that either. No.
I'd have to ask where the source of that number comes from, because I'm skeptical of those sort of claims.
Lily, if you're still on, maybe you can clarify the question for us, because I don't think any of us understand what you're asking here.
It's appeal to meaningless statistics. I don't know if it is or isn't 91%.
Oh, well, maybe the percentage doesn't matter. I think she's calling out the hypocrisy of saying, we support abortion, but we also call out Yahweh for killing babies. Like, why? How do we reconcile that if we're pro-abortion?
Oh, that's where. Okay. Well, my answer to that would be simply that the Bible, God is supposedly this moral being that is not supposed to, advocate for murder, and in the Christian worldview, a baby is a baby even in the womb, and it's and from the moment of conception, it's a human being, and so it's got a soul, and so by taking away that life, it's an abortion, and so you're killing a baby and you're committing a moral injustice. But in the worldview where you don't have a God and there's no morality that comes from God, but that we bring it out from the universe doesn't care about us. And we also aren't defining a fetus that's just conceived or whatever as a baby with a soul. We don't have that idea in atheism, and I think that's one of the hangups that people have when it comes to abortion, especially coming out of the religious mindset, is that you still have a hard time letting go of this idea that we have some sort of soul that makes us inherently valuable. But we're not. There's nothing about us that is just inherently valuable other than the fact that we say we are. We've deemed that for ourselves. So to compare the atheist mindset about abortion with God, who is supposedly some standard of morality, doesn't really work, because there's no comparison. They're not arguing the same thing at all. You guys can go for it.
Well, first of all, they're equating abortion with atheism, which is there's no line between the two. Like, atheism is an empty bucket you can fill with whatever you want, any worldview you want. Like, I don't have an atheist worldview that directly dictates that, okay, well then I must support abortion. That's one thing. Two, you know, when God kills babies, he kills them in mass. I mean, there's it seems like there's very little thought given. He just wipes out like everyone in the flood, or massacres all the babies in a genocidal act against Israel versus another nation. When people decide to abort a baby today, that's an individual decision, and I imagine they put a lot more thought and concern into that than it appears God puts into his mass murders in the Bible.
Dan?
Well, I'd say, first of all, people can be hypocrites, and that's actually not a logical fallacy. So, people can be hypocritical and it doesn't mean anything. But secondly, that, I see abortion as a issue of bodily autonomy. And if you are against it, I think that it would logically follow that you then should be for science that would enhance our ability to not have to do it. So some sort of science that would allow us to turn off our reproductive system easily. Some sort of chip that we could have in our brain that we could just turn on or off to say, yes, I want kids or not. And then people wouldn't get pregnant accidentally because they wouldn't be able to. So if you're not for funding science of that nature, then how can you be for abortion? Because you're not, how can you be for abortion if you're okay with states that teach abstinence only when that's been shown to cause more teen pregnancy, not less? So there's hypocriticalness there. It's like, if you really don't want young people to get pregnant, then you got to teach sex ed earlier, the better, apparently. And there's stats that show that that's true. So if you want to lessen pregnancy, you increase wealth in the nation. That's been shown to be the case. All these factors, where it's like, if you really are anti-abortion, I understand, I get it. You don't like the idea that, somebody is killing a potential life. There's something that feels wrong about that, I suppose. But are you for the things that could make it be so that we wouldn't have to do that we'd have another option? And then I'd say, as far as Yahweh goes, well, this is, of course, a fictional character who has all the power that you could want, can, do whatever. So it's just Thanos snaps and the thing doesn't exist. It never existed. So, but that's not what Yahweh does in the Bible. He always says, kill them all, infants, burn the city down, leave nothing behind, destroy everything. And sometimes, take the young women that have not been with a man for yourselves. It just depends how Yahweh feels in different stories. But he never just teleports them away and says, okay, I moved them somewhere else, that they're not going to be a problem for you now. That doesn't happen, of course, because they're justifying later the conquest that they did. They have a record that they did conquer these people. And, well, why did we do that? Well, God told us to, and they were really bad and mean to us, so that justifies it, because they won, so they can say whatever they want. And the people they fought are dead and gone because they wiped them off the face of the earth. They committed genocide. So, God doesn't have to do these things or command these things. Could choose a more peaceful method, a more logical method, has plenty of resources at its disposal. It could teleport these things to a different world, to a different continent, whatever. Doesn't do that. Instead chooses to kill them all. And then do they go to hell? Because they were the bad guys, so they didn't believe in Yahweh, so they get to go to hell too. I don't know about the babies or the kids. According to William Lane Craig, who defended genocide against Alex, he was like, "Oh, they're fine, because they get to go to heaven." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, then you need to check out my video, Pascal's Baby Wager." And we can throw a link for that later if we need to. But that video explores the idea of, if there really is an age of accountability, and if you're below that age, you instantly get saved. Then that means that we should be killing as many babies as humanly possible because we're sending them to heaven. And what would be greater than that? So you could just hire an atheist to, inject eggs with semen in some sort of mass factory as fast as we possibly can, and just smash them and kill them as fast as look, we got another fertilized egg, kill it. Okay, another baby sent to heaven. Let's see how fast we can pump them out. And the atheists will do it because it doesn't matter to them. They're getting paid, whatever. We don't care. We're just going to be limited by supply of eggs more than sperm. Sperm's easy to get, eggs not so much, But I mean, hey, you can fund it and you're sending all these souls to heaven. That's good, right? That would be the maximally good thing we could do as humans. So why not do that? Maybe because there's not this eternal realm that we're so sure of, and that if we value life, then why do we value life? We don't value the soul. The soul is eternal. So there's some cognitive disconnect there going on.
Yeah.
So,
I'd add one more thing, Ellen, real fast. Just because God does something that we don't like, does that mean we are always a hypocrite if we do something similar? So calling out abortion is almost like an emotional argument. We go right to the killing of babies. Just because God does it, then we're hypocrites if we do it too. But why don't we say, well, there's other times when we could justify taking a life. Like there's self-defense, there's killing in warfare, there's capital punishment, there's mercy killing, there's euthanasia, there's assisted suicide. There's a lot of different times when taking a life might be justified. Just because God is a mass murderer, does that mean every time that we find a justified case where we need to take a life, then we're hypocrites? Like, why is abortion special? Like maybe terminating a pregnancy it can be justified time to time, just like killing in self-defense, or pulling the plug on somebody who no longer has brain activity. Like why is abortion special? Like just because God does something doesn't mean we're hypocrites if we do something similar.
That's a very good point. And I just want to swing back around to what you said earlier, Elliot, because I don't want to miss this point. This was so important, and make sure that it's heard. Atheism isn't a worldview that advocates for anything, much less abortion. That is just not a good reason to not be an atheist. You can certainly hate abortion and still be an atheist, because they're not the same. They have nothing to do with one another. So I see a lot of people say, "Oh, I can never be an atheist because whatever your reason." In this case, might be because they believe abortion. No, atheism isn't an abortion worldview. Atheists do, and atheists don't. So you got to begin with flat out, am I an atheist because of good reason? Does God exist or does God not? It's a simple question. That's all we have to work with. And that's what makes you an atheist. That's the starting level. You're not promoting something. You're simply saying, I see no reason to go there, so I'm just going to remain at square one, being an atheist. Now, from here, I build my worldview, but that has nothing to do with atheism. It's just whatever my worldview ends up being. It could be a whole bunch of different things. As a humanist, you'll have certain worldviews. And you may not be a humanist. You might be something else. I don't know what your views may be, but you get to decide that. So anyway, I just wanted to drive that home because that's a super important point. Abortion can be a gigantic debate, but it has nothing to do with atheism.
Yeah, it's about, like I said, bodily autonomy more than anything else. It's the right of the woman to have to live with these consequences or not. And then sometimes it's more. I think that people get the idea that it's being used for birth control. I don't know the stats on that. I don't know if it's even possible to know the stats on that. Because sometimes, well, what about rape? What about incest? That happens. So how great is that?
Right.
But ultimately, it's a matter of bodily autonomy. I'd be very happy to not have it be a thing that we do. It just seems like right now, because of our level of technology, it needs to be legal to do it. I don't like it, but that's what I have to live with until we increase our technology. So if we really want to get rid of it, we have to fund science to figure it out so that we can have an alternative to it. And so that makes more logical sense to me than to have a strict, well, I'm against it or I'm for it. It's like, well, I have this kind of if I have to vote one way or the other, I'm going to vote what makes the most logical sense, and that maintaining it for now as a right seems unfortunate but necessary to enhance well-being.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a huge fan of abortion myself, but for me, it comes down to a question of value and self-awareness. And a baby that hasn't been born yet doesn't have any self-awareness, and it hasn't built a life like an adult. So when you talk about, well, if we give things value to give them human rights, the baby can't do that for itself. So it comes down to the parents, especially the mother. Like, those are the people that have standing to put value on that unborn life. And if they don't value it, and the baby can't value itself because it's not self-aware, then sometimes value judgment gets made by the people that have the actual standing. And I don't have that standing because it's honestly none of my business. Now, if that were a full-grown person with a life and someone took that life, then I think we all have a stake in seeing that not happen. But when it's not conscious enough to value itself, the value comes down to those who have the standing, which I don't.
Right. And just a couple quick comments. I know we're probably beating this to death already. But
like the baby, beat it to death. Oh, sorry.
I think one of the possible misunderstandings that people have when it comes to pro-choice is that they think the pro-choice position is exactly the opposite of the pro-life, where pro-life always give life and the pro-choice is, oh, we just want death, or something like that. That's not what pro-choice is about. I don't know of anybody that's in the pro-choice camp that walks around saying, man, I just can't wait to kill my next baby. Like, that's not at all the mentality. I'm pretty sure nobody desires that. That's not the goal. There's always good reasons for why they are doing it, because I don't think anybody genuinely wishes to take a life. And so I don't think they're thinking of that in that same way. So once again, we don't have souls. So that's a big deciding factor right out the gate. For a moral person who believes in God and believes we have souls, that's a huge decision. For you to have to be pro-choice, pro-life in that case. And I can understand that position. But once you remove God from the equation, you remove the soul, a lot opens up, and you got to be willing to let your mind go there and see that maybe, just maybe, there are good reasons sometimes to have to do that, even though it's not the preferred.
Yeah. And plenty of, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, this isn't something that is done lightly. This is a heavily regulated procedure. Like, it's every state has laws about abortion. We draw a hard line at birth. Like, nobody is in favor. If you can think of anybody, introduce me to them. But nobody is in favor of killing babies after they're born. There's a hard line right there at birth, and before birth, it's not something that we just allow to happen. Like, at the corner store, like, this is heavily regulated as it is.
Right. Well, us atheists, we prefer them to be aborted because we just love to eat babies. So we're protecting them.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I was going to say, I want to boot kick the baby out the window. I don't know what you're talking about, this value of life. Bang. Screw the baby. Throw him again,
Let's transition. Like Dan, does this merit a conversation? Reason and Science Cats Board says the Deconverted Man loves me.
I don't know you enough to like you in that way. So yeah, I'm glad that you're a human. So
well, let's take a question then, or a comment. Atheists make molecules become conscious.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. So whether it appears insane to you is irrelevant to it being true. This is an appeal to personal incredulity.
Yeah, right. He's just preaching.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's being I think he's being sarcastic. Maybe I can't follow. Hopefully.
Well, do you know who he is? He's not your debate opponent from last week, is he?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't look like the way in the picture. No. It's no. All right, let's move on. He has something else for us. The laws of physics operate on principle of mouth. How comes?
No,
Don't know.
that's chicken before the egg.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
If they do, that's interesting. If they don't know. I don't know how the universe works, and I make no claims to that. So don't know. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, math strictly is, as you said, is created by humans. We
Yeah.
invent it. So we use the laws of physics to invent stuff, and that's
Yeah.
the laws of physics are inherent in our universe. That's already there. We just observe it.
Mhm.
We make judgments
Yeah,
from it.
and anything to not talk about the Bible or God. Let's change the subject to math and physics because none of us are mathematicians or physicists.
What's the true nature of reality? I don't know. why would I know? I don't know. You know? Why do things work the way they do? Because they do. That's how it does. I don't know.
Well, not to bring us full circle again, but back to abortion. Lily responds and says billions of babies have been aborted. It's not individual.
Okay.
Yet it's happening to individuals.
Yeah.
Maybe collectively billions. Okay, fine, collectively, but individually, it's an individual choice.
Yeah, and how many have happened naturally too? How many stillbirths and miscarriages happen all the time? So, you know, why is God letting that happen? I don't know.
She makes it sound like there's some abortion factory out there pumping out billions.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's mass. Like that's not. Yeah. It's like literally by its very nature, it's individual.
Yeah.
And you know, to parallel it, we're talking about someone feeding off your organs, and if you are at the hospital and somebody you don't know needs an organ and you choose not to give it to them, you're essentially doing the same thing, but passively. And you're letting that person die. I mean, you have a right to your own organs. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for the other person.
They're not allowed legally to take organs even after you're dead if you didn't donate them.
Right.
And whether that is that's kind of weird, you know, in a way. It's like, well, you're dead. You're not going to miss them, you know. But it's like, yeah, but they're yours. It's like, so I don't know, you know. I mean, maybe we'll change that later on in society, you know, and say, and they're dead. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, and what does this have to do with atheism?
I don't know.
It's not an abortion debate channel.
Yeah, I don't know. They're trying to find something. You know.
Well, maybe this is about atheism. I don't know. So, do you think purity culture is bad?
Well, define purity culture.
I don't know what that is. So
is.
I mean, I do. I would not be an advocate of it, assuming we're defining it as the Christianized version of let's make sure we don't have sex until marriage. That's a very big thing in purity culture. So obviously, I'm not an advocate of that because I don't. First of all, I don't even think marriage should be a thing. To me, it's mind blowing that we are a country that still holds to principles based on religion when we have no way to demonstrate that a God exists, and yet our court system uses evidence to prove things.
I would counter with this: Are you pro freedom? Because purity culture is not.
Well, that's true. Yep.
Like let people make their own decisions,
right.
Especially when it comes to sex.
Yep, I agree. There's like nobody should be telling me what to do with my body, and the person that I'm with who wants to also enjoy it with me. Like I don't get purity culture at all. I would definitely not be an advocate. Let's see. Next question. I won't take over with my questions. Maybe we can do another stream sometime. I mean, so far you're the only one. Well, one of the only.
Keep asking them because
we would love to have you on the show. It'd be great, but right now we're just taking questions. So I want maybe we can do another. Yes, of course we can do another stream sometime. It would be fun to have you on and just dialogue about this because I understand.
Well, I mean, if she's got questions about like our belief system or our atheism or the Bible or Christianity, like sure,
or other religions,
to get into social issues is kind of a
ask me about
cause
logic.
A real sideshow.
Let's talk about logic. Come on.
Yeah, because again, we aren't a political show. We aren't a social show. We're not about these principles. We may have our own views, but we're only expressing what we think about things like abortion here because we're using the logic that flows from not having a God. Like and the worldviews that we see as probable and most likely because of that. But it doesn't like what our views are of abortion or any of these other things aren't really our strengths. These aren't things that we are sitting here trying to say, hey, this is our show. It's not what we're about.
The amazing thing I realized when I deconverted is that there's so many questions that I don't have the answers to, that, whereas before I'd be like, oh, what does God think? I'll look in this book and try to figure out what God thinks about it. Or I'll pray and maybe God will let me in on a clue or something. And when you leave all that behind, you have to really think for yourself. And it's really difficult because now you have to take personal responsibility for different choices you make in your brain of what you think is right and wrong. And that really takes a lot of maturity to do. It takes a lot of growing up. It takes a lot of information seeking because you don't know anything about the world. You thought you did, but it turns out you don't. So now you're very humble in that realization. And for some people, that can be really frightening. So it's easier to believe that they have somebody telling them what to do or not to do because, then they don't have to take any personal responsibility for their actions. They that's what God wants. Okay, that's nice. How do you know that? They don't, but they can believe it and feel secure. But I told me that it's wrong. I go with this. I've mentioned it before, but there's a clip I like to show from the movie Short Circuit. And you have this creator of the robot that's now alive talking to the robot. And he's like, well, you rewired yourself. Why didn't you obey your programming? It says to kill. He's like, killing is wrong. Don't you know that? It's like, yeah, of course I know that, but who told you? And the robot says, I told me. The robot decided that killing was final and therefore wrong because he couldn't undo it. So you don't need your creator to tell you what to do. You can decide for yourself what to do or not to do.
I think everyone is already.
Sorry, I just want to say, and as it turns out, there's no creator to help us anyway, so we kind of have to.
Yeah, exactly. In this case, we're not robots that were. Well, the robot in the movie, at least he knew that he had a creator. We don't have access to that. Right. We don't have a creator that bothers to talk to us or interact with us at all.
Good.
Well, I was going to say everybody is already doing that, whether they're a Christian or an atheist or a Buddhist. They're already coming to their own conclusions about reality, and they're creating their own worldview all the time in real time, and then they go back to their scriptures to try to justify what they already think, with the conclusion they've already come to. I've almost never seen a Christian go have a moral question, so they go to the Bible looking for the answer. No, they have an intuition already that they already have a persuasion of what the right thing is to do, and then they try to justify it by then going to the Bible and looking for something. And the problem with the Bible is that it does not address 99% of the things that we actually have to deal with in the real world. So when you go to find justification or find the divine command, you're not going to find it. So it's going to come from you ultimately anyway.
Yeah, there's even if you're talking the Judeo-Christian Bible, there's this whole drink that you can create that can cause an abortion.
Right.
So you could go there. Next question. More from the priests up in chat.
Godspeed 7984 says an open panel. I'm not sure. I think you're asking if this is supposed to be. It's an open forum with three atheists. That's what the show is called. So it is an open forum where we're taking and engaging any questions you want to throw in the chat. I'm not sure about an open panel, but an open forum, yes.
It's an open panel if you got the panel. Link to it.
You're linking in the atmosphere. Close the panel, you fools. Oh.
Elliot, what did you say? It's an open panel. What?
I said it's an open panel if you have the link to the live stream and you can join us. If you don't have the link, then it's not an open panel.
That's right. That's right.
I yelled at the people in the submarine to close the panel. They were letting in all the air.
We appreciate it. Well, Lily would have been here if she could have been. I did invite her to join us tonight, but she was unable to. She's got those little runts running around.
And I also sent the link to Seth. Of course, he's out of town, but if he gets a few minutes, he might jump on.
Cool.
For whatever reason, the Navy still didn't want to buy my idea for the screen door for the submarine I invented.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Dan. We're really glad that you're here, man. You've got some brilliant ideas. We're going to go back to Lily because she actually has one here that I think she brings full circle here, I think, with all the stuff. And this is more apropos. Asking because atheists seem to support more degenerate things that hurt society more than it helps them. But I do understand it makes sense because if there's no moral backing, it doesn't matter. Boy, do we have a lot to say about that. Go ahead. What do you got?
Malformed question, poisoning of the well.
Yeah, I would ask, what degenerate things specifically do you think atheists support that's a problem that we could address?
First of all, if you're not a theist, you're by default an atheist. So it's an unfair question to just assume everybody that's not a theist is the cause of all degenerate things, because atheists believe all kinds of things. There have been some very evil atheists in the world. There have been some very good atheists in the world. And there have been some very good Christians in the world and some very evil Christians in the world. Atheism versus theism has no bearing on a question regarding degenerate things.
What proof do you have that these so-called degenerate things are harming society at all in the first place? Generalizing in this way is a that's why I said it's a malformed question. It doesn't. It's like, well, why? Christians let's go with Islam for a change. Islam, last poll I knew of, a lot of Islam Muslims wanted to enact Sharia law, and Sharia law would be really, really bad for all of us unless you're Muslim. So why did all the Muslims want to support enacting Sharia law? I don't know. I guess they like Sharia law, but why do they want to do that? Well, because it's part of their religion, and they think that makes it right to enforce that upon others, and Sharia law would either you have to be Muslim or you have to pay extra tax to the Muslims, and that is not a position I want to find myself in. So
there's an undergirding and very misinformed understanding of atheism that it seems to be the constant thing that I'm correcting, and it's super frustrating. And it's here in the very last statement that's informing the rest of the comment here. And it's because if there's no moral backing, it doesn't matter. The assumption is if you're an atheist, you have no moral backing.
Yeah, what have you learned anything about the various ethical systems out there? I would ask, because there's several different ethical systems. I know of a couple offhand, but I have to pull up the list to rattle them all off. But I find that the discussion of morals usually disincludes ethics at all. So I'd be like, well, what ethical system do you have? Have you even looked into that? Do you know what it is? If not,
it's right. It's right here. This is This is everyone's moral backing, whether you're an atheist or a Christian or Muslim. It comes from right here, and then you use your holy text to justify that. Your holy texts, whether it's the Bible or the Quran or the Vedas, like that is not a moral backing. That is. It is not a system. Like, what is the Christian system to determine morals? It doesn't exist.
Every church.
And of course, with any religion, unless it's constantly updating, you wind up with a static set of ideas that don't change. So you cannot address modern day issues with any book that is not allowed to change itself over time. So the Book of Mormon says nothing about what to do with microwaves. Are microwave ovens good or bad? I don't know. It doesn't say anything about it. So, you have to make that decision based on your own ideas.
A question like this is usually coming from somebody who has a conservative worldview. And what they mean by degenerate things that hurt society is basically anything that's not part of their conservative worldview would be degenerate. But unless we have specific examples, like, we can't really address it.
Right. As far as the moral backing, the reason this is a big misunderstanding is theists simply make the claim that God is their objective standard, and they find his standard in the Bible. And that's the claim. But the reality is the reason you've accepted the Bible as your standard or God as your standard is because you chose him. every individual in theists has their own version of God. But even if you didn't, the reality is you all decided that he was your standard and you're all working from that objective commitment. So you subjectively made
right
God
here.
objective. You from here said he's my objective standard.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that gives God any sort of authority over the morals that you think you have, because he's not really the one granting them. You are. You're deciding what you like and you don't like, and you're imposing those upon the God, and you're saying he's our objective standard.
There is a moral backing, and it does matter. So this is like I said, it's a malformed question, poisons the well, and what other logical fallacy I said before? Now I can't remember. Well, that's good enough. At least two.
You're fired.
Huh?
You're fired.
I wasn't even getting paid. Oh no!
You were supposed to have all of them down, man. Come on.
Well,
whatever it was, I said it and I forgot what it was.
I've got a list of every logical fallacy that I've been studying because I wanted to learn them too.
Well, there's like 2,000 of them. That's a long list.
That's just
well, she should ask herself the question that if Christianity isn't true and it came from humans in the first place, hypothetically, then where would the moral backing be for anything?
Yeah. Loaded, malformed question. There it is.
So we should concentrate on like examining Christianity for its truth value. If it has no truth value and it can't serve as a moral backing because it is subjectively coming from humans who made it up, then where would you find a moral backing? Like I'm sorry to break it to you, there just isn't one. It always comes back to humans.
Let's imagine a world where the temple is rebuilt and some I don't know how many, but some Jews would maybe go back to trying to do all 613 commandments. And if that society was a thing, us from the outside looking in going, wow, when that person does that thing, they get stoned to death. Would that be okay with you? Would that sit well with you that that's what they're doing? Or would you be like, that's kind of, I don't agree with that, and I think that they should stop? I mean, I'm just saying.
That's a degenerate society.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of...
She does bring up one example of this, and I'm going to answer first, and then I'll give it over to you guys. She specifically to Deconverted Man because he was interacting with her in the chat. But do you support necrophilia? If they aren't hurting anyone, do you think it's okay? Again, devil's advocate. Well, my question to you would simply be, do you support necrophilia? Because there would be no reason that my thought towards necrophilia would be much different than your thought. And if you support it, then why should I? And if you don't, then why should I? Like, why is this even a question? It's just a very bizarre way to approach things.
You're assuming that no one's being hurt in that transaction. And that's a huge assumption to make. What are you basing that assumption on? There's all sorts of possible pathogens that you could get from having sex with somebody that's dead.
Well, and also,
so you might very well be hurting yourself. So then you are hurting someone. I mean, let alone leaving all the legality and morals aside, just from a pure logic perspective. And I don't think you're playing devil advocate. I think that you are the devil. And even though I don't believe in God, I do believe in the devil, and you are it. And I'd ask you, when did my ex-mother-in-law teach you last for the how to be evil course? Because I know my ex-mother-in-law teaches.
Yeah, no, dude, no, we're not gonna have that. I hope.
Well, I would just, I would bring it back to the
like. As long as
I'm just being hyperbolic, it's what I did.
As long as it's a crime to steal the organs from a corpse after they're dead without permission, it would be the same here. I mean, it's illegal. So why? Of course, I don't think it's okay because I live in a society where it's illegal. I mean, and also we decided that it's illegal, so it comes from here again.
Yeah, there's definite harm that can happen for all sorts of medical reasons. So the assumption that it doesn't hurt anyone is a false premise to begin.
Elliot, what were you going to say?
Well, let's put it back in the Christian. Like, how does the Christian determine that necrophilia is a problem? Like, does the Bible tell you anything about it? Because if the Bible doesn't tell you anything about necrophilia, how do you, as a Christian, come to the conclusion that it's a problem?
Good question. I don't know.
Well, let me call them the devil, man.
So you're right. They're right back to using their own brain as their moral backing.
Yeah.
This is kind of funny, actually. I am pro-choice. I just want to tell you what choice to make.
Yeah.
That's funny. Let's see. We have Godspeed here. The modern right to abortion isn't a victory for freedom. Well, I guess this has become the abortion show. It's a symptom of declining civilization. Right?
Really? All right. Prove it.
Is Europe in decline? What part of show us a civilization that's in decline?
Yeah, how do you measure decline?
Like link that.
Association causation fallacy.
Which civilization? Because abortion is legal in Europe. Are they in decline?
Next question. When you look at it through the lens of power and property, the pro-choice stance is actually a form of slave morality.
Huh?
I don't know. I'm trying to understand.
I don't know what that is. Okay.
The lens of power and property. What is it? Is this critical theory?
I don't know. That question is completely incoherent, so I have to discard it.
It's a comment anyway.
Oh, okay.
Prioritizes a competent individual. Okay, he's just going on and on. By treating a political life as disposable burden, we aren't being liberated. We're comforting the herd mentality that fears the responsibility of power. A lot of comments, not really having the forum to be able to.
Well, we are taking responsibility. Well, you don't like the responsibility we're taking, but we are taking responsibility by having an abortion.
Yeah.
Well, you think this is some thing you can do in 5 minutes in your bathroom? I mean, this is a serious thing. Like, it takes a lot of decision making and thought. You have to go to a clinic and see an actual medical doctor and go through something that is potentially life altering. I think that's taking responsibility.
Also, you mean, if you've done the research, you would know that the adoption system is in desperate need of an overhaul, and of course is largely run by religious organizations for whatever reason. And I don't know what we would need to do to fix that, but that's certainly not been messed with. So given the choice between a really bad adoption system, which would be the only recourse to somebody maybe that's impoverished, doesn't have finances for a child, or doesn't have, they can't financially support it. They aren't emotionally ready. And so when the more responsible choice to not bring that life into the world in the first place. Yeah. So I think you're just talking out your whatever, talking out of.
Yeah,
my brain stopped there. So
he's got 2 more paragraphs on this. I'll just read them through.
Yeah,
and then
skip.
There's a truly sovereign individual recognizes that their offspring is their ultimate biological property and their primary contribution.
Wow. That's an appeal.
And he says to destroy that life for the sake of convenience is a rejection of one's own ego and a violation of the natural order that is a high function.
Boy, this is a lot of bad logic. So a truly sovereign X. So this is an appeal to purity. It's a no true Scotsman fallacy. And there's no argument here being given. There's just statements. Anyone can say anything. I say the exact opposite about the exact position. To be truly sovereign is to not like this. So all you're doing is making ultimatums. You're not actually producing a valid and sound argument, which would actually convince me. So go get an argument, come back with that.
None of what he said came from a scripture. None of it came from a Bible or came from a God. It came out of his own head. So he is individually, subjectively making his own moral judgments from his own reasoning.
And you're welcome.
So you're an atheist just like us.
Yeah, you're welcome to your opinion on this. I mean, that's why the world goes round. Here is a change of flow. This is nice, I think. Hopefully, maybe not. This may have same topic. How do you deal with the problem of induction? What are we talking about here?
I don't know what that is. So.
I don't know what that is. Are we talking about in
I
pregnancy?
don't know.
I'm not really sure.
Is this like electronics, like induction?
It's well, it's induction and deduction. I believe are two different ways to reason.
We're talking about logic.
It's
It
a
sounds like
thing.
precept to me.
The inductive
Yeah,
argument.
it does sound like precept.
But I'm not sure. Like he's calling it a problem of induction, so I'm confused.
I don't know.
Because that would sound like
I don't deal with it. There you go. That's my answer. I'm not worried about it.
Elliot's on the ball. He's looking it up.
Well, yeah, I googled it real fast. The problem of induction questions the rational justification for believing that future events will resemble past experiences.
Yeah.
So the predicting the future based on past events is apparently the problem of induction.
I mean, I don't know that it's that big of a problem.
What other options do we have?
That's the question. Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world that appears consistent day to day with our natural laws. So why would we not base the future on the past?
Dude, the problem of solipsism is even worse. I mean, you know, just going to there.
We're all brains in jars. Oh no!
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to play the game of since we can't know we can do anything, then we're never going to do anything. Which is vegetables. But the fact is, all we can do is observe the universe we're in. We can start on basic presuppositions that we have to have in order to do dialogue, like I exist, Elliot exists, and Dan exists, and so do you. So we assume that. I
don't plan tomorrow's future events based on some black swan event. Like I have to, imagine that tomorrow's going to be very much like today. My future experiences are going to be very, very similar. Like how does that actually play out in the real world?
I think
you have to use induction.
There would be a far harder problem for the person that believed in a being that could break the laws of physics at their whim, because you literally could never know that tomorrow is going to be the same as today, or that any moment is going to be suddenly not transformed magically, that the lobster will levitate off my hand because that's what God wanted to happen. And there'd be no rhyme or reason to it. I'd just be like, well, that's a thing that happened. Okay. And it's like, oh, my car is now a horse. Okay. Well, that's just a thing I have to deal with today, and oh, my house turned into a giant onion. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? It must be Tuesday, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I was like, you got to hope that God doesn't feel like just messing around because it got bored, So,
right.
Anyways, this is precept nonsense.
We don't really have any choice except to look around us and the conformity of nature. So
yeah. My bog standard answer is read The Lobsterist for that.
Well, let's get there then, because the next question from Lily again was, where does logic come from?
Well, my answer was read Lobsters. That was my answer, was read The Lobsterist. It's explain The Lobsterist. Look, on my about, like, it used to be the about section, but now it doesn't even call itself that. It's just like more section now on YouTube. There's a link to The Lobsterist, and there's also an audio version of it that Captive Desk read. So there's no excuse now. Everyone should understand and have read The Lobsterist by now, and if they haven't, they're just not going to understand the true nature of reality. And by the way, nobody has even bothered to even try to debunk it yet. So I'm just waiting, for somebody to come along and actually make a video about it. And no one's done it. So, I mean, it must be true, because that's how that works. I would say also learn logic, because precept basically means you've shut off your brain. But anyways.
Hey, Ellen, quick question. Where do you see the comments coming in on the live?
Well, I see them off on the right. You should see them.
No, I mean, are you getting them off of YouTube or a different platform?
No, I'm seeing mine straight in StreamYard. And you should.
Oh, StreamYard. Okay.
Yeah,
YouTube. Wherever you're talking to. Yeah,
YouTube. Yeah. There's two different channels, so I'm guessing that they both are flowing into the one chat and StreamYard. I'm not sure.
Hoping you can see it. You might not be able to because you're on a phone. So that's a possibility.
Why is precept nonsense? Because it discards logic in full.
But if you have an option to see comments, Elliot, you might need to click that.
No, I got it.
Okay. This is an interesting comment also from Godspeed. I think this is true. I think people assume that atheists support degenerate things because many atheists support things like LGBT rights and hold a pro-choice abortion.
Oh no, not that. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just advocate for human rights in general, because there's no reason not to. Like, why not? Like, what would be the reason not to advocate for human rights? And especially if my rights end where yours begin. You know, if we have that mentality, then we're not going to harm each other. We just have the right to do what we want with our bodies.
Yeah, my atheism came first before I held any sort of, you know, social views that follow from that. Like I became an atheist because I left Christianity. It's got nothing to do with human rights or the LGBT rights or pro-choice positions at all. Atheism is an empty bucket. You can put whatever worldviews you want into it. It makes, there's no implications there.
Opening Minds with information says a lobster show's induction lacks deductive certainty.
Sure.
Any problems with that?
I don't care.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, I really don't care either.
Well, can't I have my conservative standards? Because essentially it's just my preferences and I should be allowed to have them just like y'all, correct? Yes.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely right. No argument there. No. You absolutely have every right to do that. Now, if we're going to debate logical things and reason, then we should debate reason. If we're going to debate personal opinions, then
it would be nice to see something logical come from this person rather than assertions made without any argumentation.
The comment I made about it coming from a conservative viewpoint is simply that, you know, you mentioned degenerative, you know, society following from atheism, and usually that's from a conservative position because a conservative position doesn't want things to change. So anything that does change that's in conflict with that conservative worldview seems to the conservative like degeneracy. But of course you're allowed to have it. I mean, that's how we form societies, is enough people with the same views come together and form the form of society that they want. So if you have the numbers on your side, then you're going to have a conservative society. I mean,
yep.
So
back to Opening Minds with information. He said, sorry, guys, I am trying to bring up philosophical questions, but I'm not sure these are getting through. No, we're not getting through, and we appreciate them. I think the last ones you asked, I just don't know that there are answers to them because there's nothing we can do but what we have to work with. So I think that's why we just kind of moved on with them, because there's no better answer than that.
Yeah, it's because this isn't a philosophical channel necessarily. This is a channel of guys who have left Christianity. Like we are ex-Christians first, atheists second, because we don't see another option. So we talk about religious topics mostly related to Christianity. So we're not philosophers. So if you bring philosophy into this, it's going to be a rough start.
The only philosophy that I know anything decent about is informal logic, and even that I consider myself an amateur. But I constantly tell people learn informal logic, especially if they're subscribing to precept. They no longer have logic, and they don't understand it, and they don't want to. And the precept stuff lies to people about how things work. It's a system devised by Christians to promote Christianity as a apologetic tactic. It is not one that actually uses any logic at all. And using the script of precept, I find as disdainful and despicable because it undermines logic and reason. It traps you in a never-ending quest of questions of where does logic come from? Where does this how does this work? And it's like you're not answering. Yeah, you don't know. That's your problem. You need to learn the basis of the system before you attack the system. And precept makes all these assertions about how things work that are not true. And if you bother to learn the system first, you would understand that. But you didn't, because precept seemed like a way to win the argument. And I don't play that. I don't talk to precepts on my channel anymore.
Right. Because
it's not I don't get anywhere because they can't get anywhere because they're not using their own facility. They're using a script that they've borrowed or stolen from someone else, a script that undermines logic, and they don't understand that because they never bothered to try to understand logic in the first place every single time. So the precept stuff, I'm not even going to address in chat anymore at all.
Yeah, the precept stuff is a tactic to try to put the burden of proof onto the atheist, and put them on the defensive, when it's the Christian that has the burden of proof, because they're the ones making the claims. You claim the Bible is true. You claim Christianity is true. You claim that there is a God. The burden of proof is on you. Putting the burden of proof back on us is not where it should be.
No, it's so true. And I hear this all the time. Well, God is a categorical difference than the Easter Bunny. So you have to prove that he exists. And I'm like,
not even a category.
Because more people believed it for longer suddenly means that the burden of proof goes to the person who doesn't agree with it. Like, it just doesn't. It's pure silliness. It's a God of the gaps theory, because you're convinced that there's no other possibilities but the ones you can think of.
Yeah, highlight Franklin's there.
God, and
it's funny that we did answer it, even though Fred Thinking, whatever, said we didn't answer it because we have no answer. We provided plenty of answers to every single thing asked, even though it's not our expertise. So it's almost like we did the exact opposite of what you're claiming. So I think that this is desperation from the chat now. They know that they've lost without even playing the game. They're just projecting onto us their faults.
Look, when it comes to precept, one of the problems is that presuppositionalists are only willing to consider possibilities that they are able to comprehend and know. Mm-hmm. You're unaware of so many other possibilities. Also, we don't know what life was like, if there was any, prior to the Planck time. So prior to this universe coming into existence, we don't know how the laws work, even if there even were any. We know nothing about it. If you invent a God and you say this God has different properties and this God exists outside of time, space, time, and whatever, and it's like, why can you do that and just assume that he's the only option that exists prior to Planck time? It's just got to be God. Why? Why can't it be a million other possibilities that we just don't know? You can't just invent something and claim it's true without having a good reason. And that's what you do as presuppositionalists. You just default to God because he fills your gap. And you're uncomfortable with saying, I genuinely don't know. Really, that's the more honest position.
Yeah, I'm looking at...
It seems like they've got a big problem with this idea of subjectivity. Well, I would ask, how can you give us an example of something that's not subjective?
Yeah,
because everything is subjective. It's subjective to your opinion. It's subjective to our culture. It's subjective to like everything you can possibly think of. Like, show me the objective moral standard. You're the one who has a burden of proof there if you think something is objective. Like, what is objective? Give us an example.
Right.
Yeah, goodness forbid that we have subjective morality subject to change based on new information that we get. I mean, it's like, oh, I learned something new today. Well, I'm going to stay with the same old morals that I've always had my entire life, despite the new information I have, because that makes sense.
Back full circle, I think this person just kind of summarizes the whole abortion thing nicely. My profile friends always acted as if the government was putting a gun to people's head to make them have an abortion. And my wife and I adopted 6 children, and we are pro-life, but only as our personal choice, not to coerce others.
Yeah, see, that's the way I think to be. Yeah, if you're not talking about other people, you're just talking about yourself, then absolutely,
And pro-choice should not also be forcing people to be pro-choice. I mean, now, do I think pro-choice makes the most logical position for everybody? Yes, because if you're not coercing anybody else, that's called pro-choice. You're giving everybody the freedom. So you can choose to have all of your babies and not make everybody else think that same way. That's called pro-choice, not pro-life. Pro-life says everybody else has to do this.
And it's also amazing to adopt at all. It's very difficult to adopt that many. I mean, and be able to do it decently is extraordinary.
So
does anybody here in the comments actually want to talk about Christianity or the
I
Bible?
don't know. Oh,
No, they're all doing
this is
precept
amazing.
and
This is
precept.
Where does
amazing.
natural law come from?
This is precept 101. It can't lobsterist. There you go.
Who says there is such a thing as natural law? Define natural law so we can actually discuss it. How about that? It's just a red. It's a red herring. What's this guy's worldview? What's his background? What are his beliefs?
I don't know the answer to the question. There you go. That's a malformed question. It doesn't come from anywhere. There you go. That's the answer.
This is actually what a terrible answer. Lobsters? Is this a satire?
Yeah, absolutely.
Based upon all the conversation we're having, we might actually be. I'm not sure.
Look, it's very simple.
Well, these comments are satire.
It's very simple. See, this is a stuffed lobster. We can all agree upon that. You know, we can all explore this and test it, and we can prove that it's a stuffed lobster.
AI freak dash 5 whatever CW5W. Stupid atheists believe life is beautiful for everybody. Okay.
No, I don't. Also, I mean,
when I
what a load of shit.
It's like
sometimes I'm stupid, but yeah, I'm still smarter than you.
Wow, okay. Absolute load of shit.
Yeah, this is somebody.
That's not true at all. I think the world is filled with incalculable suffering.
Not only that, I mean, like, there are parasites that drill into people's eyeballs. Like, what's up with that? You know?
I'm an atheist because primarily one of the big reasons is because of human suffering.
Well, all suffering of all creatures, you know, like, I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, like that's a really big argument against the existence of God, or at least the Christian God, is the problem of suffering.
It's not for me. It was just lack of any evidence for the Christian views that I thought that I had evidence for. When I looked into the archaeology, there wasn't anything there. Actually, there was a lot of frauds that were pretending that stuff was there, but nothing significant or real. The few real things were very much nothing big. It was like, okay, we confirmed that this city existed. We confirmed that this person was a king. And it was like, that's it. We can't really prove anything more. And you know, that was a problem.
Free thinking says, no, you have it backwards. You're begging the question. You are the first circle of atheists I've ever heard say precept.
That's not true. Yeah.
So first of all,
we didn't say that.
We didn't say that. I didn't. I don't know. You can't just circle everybody in this group and say, "Hey, we all said that." I'm not arguing that they don't use logic. I'm saying they limit their logic to only things that they're aware of, and then therefore you can draw a logical conclusion because you're unwilling to open your mind to the possibility that you actually don't know stuff that you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
I'm glad to. I would absolutely defend the position that precept is anti-logic. It doesn't get rid of it. It is against logic in full. It undermines it at every single turn because, like I said, it is an apologetic tactic invented by Christians for Christians to deliberately engage in pseudo-intellectual warfare where it's always you win, they lose. It's never about actually addressing anything or understanding anything. It's continuously shift the burden, ask them questions, never provide answers, never actually defend your position. And it doesn't care about logic because if it did, it wouldn't be a thing. So if you haven't learned informal logic, it doesn't surprise me that you would use precept. So learn informal logic.
So
this guy needs to actually give us an argument that we can work with, that we can actually discuss instead of these absurd comments.
So
what is your worldview?
Yes, give us an argument that makes sense. Okay, enough with the lobster. Get
we
down.
We finally have a question that we're gonna love. This is the best question I have seen all night. Perfect. Anybody want to take a stab at? Oh wait, that's from Deconverted Man. Never mind.
It was just me losing my mind. I love it. It's great.
Free Thinking asks. So then this is three agnostics. Then I don't know. I'm an agnostic, so I don't know about you two. What you would?
Well, here's my official label: agnostic, atheist, skeptic, lobsterist. There you go.
There you go.
And agnosticism speaks to knowledge. Like
Right.
I can be an atheist. I don't believe there's a God, and an agnostic, which says that I don't have knowledge of a God.
I'm an atheist.
And why is he accusing us of being agnostics? Like that's a problem or something?
Yeah, I'm an atheist because I'm an agnostic. You see, because I don't know, therefore I have no reason to believe it. So it drives it. I can't not be both. They just
right. Tell us what's wrong with being an agnostic.
All right. Let's see. Anybody got any good questions having to do with Christianity or the Bible? Or
no, they're just doing precept.
Oh, here we go. Do you think any Christian tradition is valuable? Maybe art, music, or education? Ah, there's a fun
Those
question.
aren't Christian traditions. Those are human traditions, and they come from every culture, not just Christianity.
There you go. So it's a moot point. Let's see. Kind of skipping.
Yeah, I was trying to think of any particular tradition that would be Christian by itself. Like, I don't know what that would be.
Building church buildings and cathedrals and singing hymns.
But that's not solely Christian though. So,
yeah, you gotta give us some specifics here. Nobody's giving us specifics.
Pretending that Jesus came back from the dead, maybe, is a tradition, I guess. I don't know.
That was very artistic. That was very artistic. He's a magician.
Yeah,
so that's good. So maybe
I think that let's argue about that for a moment. I think that the miracle of changing water to wine is far more impressive than coming back to life.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, because you think about it, the molecules, you have to change the molecules. So you're doing some atomic rearranging there that would normally cause destabilization and an explosion. You're just restoring tissue. That's easy, whatever. Yeah, rearranging the molecules. Where are you getting the wine particles from? That's way more impressive.
I'll agree. It's a far more useful miracle because without alcohol, so you have multiple lives and be boring as shit. So,
well, it didn't say how he turned the water to wine.
That's true.
Yeah, I just think molecular.
He could have just swapped out the barrels. It could have been a magic trick.
Yeah, but we got to have the actual.
Well, speaking of that, here's a good question. Why is he holding up a lobster? Does he have special needs?
Yep.
Did the serpent do anything wrong in the Garden of Eden from Godspeed?
No, because it doesn't exist. Also, you mean Lilith? You're talking about Lilith there?
Well, the serpent couldn't have done anything wrong because the serpent would have had to have eaten of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil before he was able to do anything wrong. So it doesn't say he ate of it himself first.
Yeah, it was just more. It was actually the serpent's a later translation. The original is a trickster. And of course, then there's the story of Lilith that actually tries to make more sense of it. And a lot of paintings show it to be the Naga looking figure that is Lilith in the Garden of Eden. So in that scenario, you have Lilith, who is part snake, part human, a Naga, who was the first woman given to Adam. And she was his equal, and he didn't like that. So he asked God to give him a different woman, and that's where Eve came from, that was going to be subservient to him. And so because of her jealousy, she tricked Eve into eating the fruit. But why she was allowed to do that is anybody's guess. And then why were they held accountable? Because they literally didn't know what good and bad was, so they wouldn't know that obeying God was good. They wouldn't know that disobeying God was bad. So God punishes them for not following his commandments in an incoherent way when they wouldn't have known that following commandments were good. So it really, even with Lilith as the Naga, the story still doesn't really make a lot of logical sense. But it's not really meant to. It's meant to be a Chassot story of why there's bad stuff in the world.
Right. Well, and I mean, just to answer the specific question, did the serpent do anything wrong? I don't see any command from God even that told the serpent not to do that. There's nothing to do or not do. So as far as we can tell, the serpent was just minding his own business. And along comes Eve, and he's like, "Hey, here's someone to talk to."
Yeah. Hey, eat this stuff. It's good for you. Okay.
Sure. It's a case of insufficient information.
Yep. Let's see.
Where are they getting the hydrocarbons? Yeah. Okay.
From Opening Minds with information, was there a historical Paul? Boy, that's a good question, and that's a tough one. My answer would be there's a lot of historical Pauls. I'm certain.
Whether you're talking about the Bible one, probably.
Whether we're talking about the Bible one or not, maybe. I mean, I have no problem with it.
I would conceive of Paul as the first true apologist who came along and lied about Jesus so that he could get fame.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean,
does anybody actually question the existence of Paul as a historical character? I've never heard that before from anyone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, Paul, I wouldn't. Well, I'd question some of the things that Paul says, or whatever. But like
the one where he saw Jesus in heaven.
Yeah. Like I said, he's the first true apologist. He just made up a story so that he could get some power and fame. Because otherwise, why would they pay attention to him?
Believe me, guys, I saw him, and so did 500 other people that you can't.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, yeah, and by the way, I used to persecute the Christians all the time. And now there's no proof that I did that. But believe me, I used to do that. But then I saw Jesus,
Trust me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sure.
But anyway, was there a Paul? Sure, why not?
I guess,
yeah. I don't question that. That's not it's not an extraordinary claim to say Paul existed.
No, not at all. I don't have any problem with that at all.
Plus, he was part of the Beatles, so.
Let's see. So here's one. Would you think non-eschatological religions have positive benefits for organizing one's life? Maybe Eastern religious traditions or worldviews that do not follow a concept of linear time?
That broke my brain.
I think he's just asking if there's any value to religion that doesn't have to do with some kind of judgment at the end or whatever.
Well, if we were scholars of Eastern religious traditions, we might be able to give you an actual answer, but we're not. I'm not.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I'd say that whether or not a religion or anything for that matter has a positive or negative benefit doesn't necessarily make it true, in the sense that it could be very beneficial to do X activity, but that doesn't mean that the underlying ideas about it are real, other than it produces an effect that's desirable. So if you take a pill that's a placebo pill and it cures your headache, the placebo pill had nothing to do with it. So it's kind of one of those weird things.
Currently, any existing religion in the world that is operating right now does have some kind of benefit. Otherwise, they would be naturally selected out. So whether the benefit outweighs the harm or vice versa is irrelevant. Every one of them has some kind of benefit because they exist. They're working. They're functional. If they had no benefit, they wouldn't exist.
So I'm not sure I would agree with that. I don't think that they have any benefit, and probably because I would compare it to saying that most of the things that they do that have the benefit you can do without it. It's just they've capitalized on it, and so it's won the fight. But I don't think the religion itself is what's providing the benefit. I think it's the things they do that are beneficial, which is why people stick around.
I don't know about the linear time having any connection whatever, but
I don't know if you guys know who Britt Hartley is. She's got her own channel. She's an atheist, but she's a atheist spiritualist. I'm not a big advocate of her position. However, I'm not like against her either. I think she's got some good things to say. Anyway, she advocates for a religion mindset as an atheist, not obviously with a theistic concept, but she thinks everything that we do that has any sort of repetition and elements to it, stuff like that, that's all religiously, based. And so that's the way she would define it. And so she, people escape religion and then they have nowhere to go. And so she's trying to provide a way for people to maintain that and keep it established so that
there are a handful of atheist or secular churches. I don't know how many now or if they're still around, but last I knew there was.
And it depends on how you define religion then, because like I would, I think you can have an atheist church and not be religious. So religion is what it would have to be defined, and that's the problem. It's a difficult
Sunday Assembly, Oasis Network.
But anyway, if you're looking for somebody who advocates for that position, Open Minds with information, I encourage you to check out Britt Hartley, because she does talk about that stuff, and I think you would appreciate it if you were in fact looking for something like that. Let's see. I don't see anything else currently right now. So let's return so we can wrap this show up. Dan, let's return to your story and let's try to, get it told pretty quickly here. But I want to hear, you were going to all these churches and the last one you went to was the Baptist church. And so why don't you?
It was First Church of Christ. Yeah. Yep. Well, I went to, no, that wasn't
the one where you were looking at the logic and providing evidence. You said there was none. So pick up there.
The last church I went to was, what denomination were they? I think they might have been Baptist, but I'm not sure what denomination they would have been. I think that it was Boulder Church or something like that in Colorado. I started looking. I was still doing. I was Infinite Hope, and on YouTube, and so I was looking for evidence of Christianity. Looked at the archaeological stuff and kept finding fraud after fraud. Especially back then, it was Ron Hewitt, or however you say his last name, kept popping up all the time. I was like, you don't lie if you have the truth. So I don't know why all these people are doing this giant fraud stuff to try to prove Christianity. Because, like, if we have the evidence, then we have it. And so I abandoned that, and I became aware of apologetics and listened to William Lane Craig and people like stuff like that. I was like, okay. This is it. This will prove that to those pesky atheists. But, I was like, okay, I learned these arguments. I memorized them. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is great. I'm like, I probably should learn logic so that I know how to, if this is a good argument. That might be a good idea. And then I learned informal logic, and I was like, oh, these arguments suck. So I can't keep using them. So then I'm like, well, okay, that's it. I don't have any evidence. I don't have any logic. What's left is pure faith. And I was like, there's really, if there had been some sort of divine intervention, I suppose I might maybe have believed for a little bit longer. I don't know, but there wasn't any, and so I really didn't have anything left to grasp. And I was like, I guess I don't believe in God anymore. And it was a painful year. And not everybody has that. Some people have good experience with that. Some people bad. It depends.
Can I pause you for just a second before we journey into that? I just want to make one comment on the evidence and the apologetic arguments that you were just saying, because something just hit me that was important to say. I think Christians, what they typically do, because this is what I did, and it was unintentional. You don't realize you're doing this, but there are arguments, apologetic arguments for the existence of God, and so you don't take the time, as you did, Dan, to evaluate whether they actually do what they say they do. You just know they're there, and you believe, and they appear to support your belief, and so that's good enough, and you just continue to stay in that cycle. It's when you really investigate if the argument's doing what you think it's doing, do you realize that it falls short.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't do with apologetics. They don't evaluate the argument to see if it does what it says it does.
I've encountered that many times talking to theists on my channel where they do not understand. They think that they understand logic, but they don't. I encountered one guy that he knew formal logic, which is its own. I mean, that's what I held up earlier was this book that I have printed out that I'm starting to dive through for the formal stuff, because I know informal, and it's a different discipline in full. Informal logic deals with natural language, which is what we're using right now. So the typical classic syllogism, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. That's informal logic. And that's what apologists are using, the kalam, all things, anything that begins to exist has a cause, universe begin to exist, therefore the universe had a cause. That's informal logic. And so with the guy that understood formal logic, he was obsessed with it being valid. And I'm like, yeah, your argument's valid, but it's not sound. And that's what matters. And you need to look at informal logic to get why that matters, because you're stuck with the symbolic nature of formal logic. You're not seeing the wider picture. And I never heard back from him, so I don't know if he did bother learning it or not. But over and over again, people just don't seem to have bothered to learn the underlying structure of how the arguments work in the first place. So how can you possibly hope to know if an argument is good or bad unless you understand the basics of it? I don't know what 10 times 47.5 is, because I suck at math, and also I can't do that in my head, but somebody that knows math might know that, and so there's a way to learn that you need to, it's like you can't do these weird formulas that have A and B in them, and those weird E symbol and what all this stuff means, unless you learn that discipline. So it might look good, it might sound good, but that doesn't make it good. Now, there's one channel I have to kind of shout out that covers fallacies pretty well. Let me pull that up here while you talk about other stuff.
You should, if you wanted to, you should be able to share it on the screen.
Well, while you're looking for that, I would just comment that they don't go into these arguments because they're looking for reassurance. Like that's the primary goal of a Christian when they go to apologetics is not to pick apart the arguments. It's to get reassurance that they have the correct religion or faith or worldview. Like if they dig too deep into it, that's going to crumble on them, and that's going to be counterproductive to what their goal is. So that's why it's so hard to get them to actually, go more than surface deep into apologetics.
Right, but I don't know that the mentality as a Christian is, I'm just going to look for this reassurance. I don't know that because I know when I was a Christian, I was intelligent enough, and I was reasonable. I used logic. I knew the informal logic. I mean, I was doing all that, but when it came to apologetics, the arguments, the evidence that it provides is consistent with the proposition that God exists. So I didn't need to question any further because I already believed God existed. And so this appeared to support this. And so why would I evaluate any further? It's duh. Here you go.
Yeah.
So you don't actually think that there's a problem with it. And somebody needs to point it out, and as you're suggesting, Elliot, that, hey, have you actually evaluated the arguments? There's a problem with it. And once you're challenged with that and you're forced to actually think reasonably about the argument, that's when you start to just not care and just seek reassurance, as you're suggesting.
I don't think you can force them to look at it more closely.
No, you have to.
That's the problem. They have these automatic defense mechanisms that
Yeah.
prevent that.
Correct.
It has to be.
It's not on purpose, I think. But I think there are a lot of Christians that are reasonable, and you put them in a corner with these responses, and they just don't want to let go. And that's where the brainwashing is so strong that they would rather be illogical and wrapped in a corner then they would actually see that there's a problem that they need to get out of.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it. It's obviously this is painting with broad brushstrokes, but like I said, all the talks I've had with theists over time, I have a playlist of that where very few seem to even bother to cursory glance at logic. That it's. And it's like, are you really looking? They like to say, you guys aren't looking for the truth. I'm like, my duty's to the truth. I'm looking for the truth. I'm not saying that there's no God. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know what the word God means. I don't even know that we know what that is. What does it mean to be God? And I've talked about that on my channel. It's like, what is God? How do we possibly decide that God has the ability to make a universe? Why is that a thing God does? Well, because we said that, but why did we say that? Like, how did we know that that's what a God is? We decided that that's what God is, and then it's backwards. It's the idea of God comes first, not you don't have the thing there to look at and go, well, here's how this works. But I am always looking to be corrected and learn and grow as a person and learn new information and like I said, challenging ourselves. Like, I might have some belief in my head that I'm not questioning, and I need to question that then, because that's what I hold most dear, and so I have to be skeptical of it. I have to rigorously examine this and say, does this hold up? And if the answer is no, then I'm not gonna believe it. But that doesn't mean I disbelieve it. I just hold it in kind of like a question. I put it on a shelf, the skeptic shelf. It's like, I don't know if it's true or false. Give me an argument, then I'll figure. Come back and look at it again. I'm just saying your argument bad. That doesn't disprove God, but it doesn't help your case either. So you need to go get a better argument and come back. And they refuse to do that. Okay, in private chat, I put the couple links for you there.
Perfect.
I can't share them because I don't have a thing.
Similar to what you were just saying, Dan, I thought this was an interesting comment. It seems, that's from Opening Minds with Information, it seems that there are more issues with evangelicals needing certainty, where progressive Christians have embraced more sophisticated interpretations that embrace symbolic truth and not literal truth. And I see that happening too with a lot of the what do they call them, the nuns and duns or whatever, and guys like my stolen body. I'm drawing a blank right now, Elliot. We had him on our show.
Josh Patterson.
Yeah, Josh Patterson, thank you. So similar to that, just basically having, and I think one of the reasons this happens is because you see a problem clearly, because if you didn't, we'd still be with the old school Christianity. But now we're just like, well, this isn't working anymore, so we're just going to continue to make up whatever we want to make it fit,
Right.
Because there is a great fear in what it means to be an atheist. And I think that's been painted in Christianity for so long, that it's this evil thing, and how you can't even contemplate it. No, look, all the kind of like the questions we were getting earlier. Look at all the evils atheists do in the world. I don't want to be an atheist, so I got to remain a theist somehow. But I can see the problems, and I'm already going there, so I got to fix this. And so
yeah.
It
boils down to fear. I think that they will remove all of the problematic material from the religion so that they can hold on to some kind of abstract concept that's left, because to get rid of all of it means that they have no hope, meaning, or purpose left. So it's this inability to just accept reality on its own terms. Got to have something. There's got to be something there. They have to have something left to hold on to. And that really frustrates me, because it's so much harder to argue with a progressive Christian that doesn't take the Bible literally and has gotten rid of all of the issues, and they just hold on to this core, philosophical concept that there's a God there that cares about them. Like, well, where did you get that from? I mean, you got that from, most of the time, from that source material that you have totally butchered and removed 90% of the material from. They just can't let the rest go. And I really think it's fear, because if you remove a God, you remove all religion, all faith, all belief, whatever, like, you're just left with the world as you see it. What you see is what you get, and that means that you are going to die, and that is it. And that's just such a hard thing for the human mind to accept. So they've got to keep just something.
Dude, you're
You
so
know,
right.
there could be an afterlife
When
without
I
a God.
first like left Christianity, like I used to be one of those evil atheists, you know. But then the one day, like my story, it just happened. It's not like I was looking to be an atheist. I just one day it just all hit me, and I was like, oh crap, I'm an atheist. Like it was just like all of a sudden I just realized nothing was working. But that was a very scary place, and I know Dan said he was in a very I don't know if you used the word scary, but a very lonely place.
Painful
Place. Yeah, it was painful. It was painful. It was dark. It was scary because like in that moment, I had just walked out of an entire world, a life.
Yeah.
This was my life, a God who took care of me, and I never had to worry about anything. And now I'm like, what do I do with this? I literally for me, it was like being a baby again. I started over from scratch because I knew nothing about the world. All I knew was God and his Bible, and that was my life. And now I'm like, well, how do I navigate this world? So it was very scary, and I think that's why a lot of Christians don't.
It's a lot of
opening minds with information. Thank you. Process theology. That was the word I was looking for. I couldn't think of it. But anyway, Dan, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I put in private chat a couple different links for you. I don't know if you saw that or not. I can't put them in the anything. I don't have a wrench. So
thank you. I will post these in the group
description or whatever you want to do with that. But
I can see
all related to the things that we had mentioned. We mentioned progressive theists. I did have a talk with him, Randall Ralser. And
I'm familiar with him.
I feel like it's like he needs a nudge to become an atheist. I don't know what that nudge is, but I'm like, come on.
There's the links, guys. I just dropped in the main comments. So anybody wants to copy them, now's your chance.
Yeah, there you go. Wow.
But Dan, so we're here, so why don't you tell us about your painful story then and keep going?
Oh yeah. Well, once I deconverted, if you will, and that label or term came later. When I encountered, I met up with my brother, and he said, "Oh, I was saying something, I don't know what," and he's like, "Oh, you're a skeptic," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I am." So he kind of gave me my label, and it wasn't soon after that I started doing Deconverted Man. But and mainly focused on pointing out just the logical fallacies of arguments that the religious were producing, and that really has been pretty much the same from as I go on. Is it's getting kind of hard to find content to do anything with, but it's still the same thing. It's the same old arguments over and over again, and I'm like, guys, please make a new argument. Nope, same old argument. Okay, well, here we go again, And, the learning what I've learned and understanding what I understand is in trying to clear up these misunderstandings people have about, the word atheist or agnostic or logic or how logic functions, all these things. And I've attempted to do so on my channel as best as I can, and I don't know if it's getting through to anyone or if anyone cares. I tried to teach logic once on my channel, and I got like a few views of that. So I was like, I guess that's not really popular. I'm not able to do that, I guess. I don't know. Nobody's telling me, there's no feedback, so I don't know, and so but I hope to challenge ideas, attack the ideas, not people, although sometimes I wind up attacking people. I don't mean to, but because I'm emotional, I'm a human. And my own ideas as well, because I don't know if there is or isn't a God. I'm a kind of an atheist, a soft atheist, in the sense that atheism is the position that the word God is incoherent, thus has no meaning. And I think that's partially true, but not completely true, because there are meanings ascribed to it. so I don't pretend to know what God is or isn't, and that's up to the person claiming God. And if there is a thing, then maybe we haven't found it yet. I mean, that's the best I can do. Afterlife stuff, like, I don't know, when you die, you're dead. What does that mean? I don't know. Some people are convinced that that's just it. And some people are like, well, maybe this or that or whatever. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's beyond me. That's beyond the scope of logic. So I don't know. And it's okay to not know. That is the true thing that I've had to embrace the most, is that uncertainty, to love the mystery. And maybe they'll figure it out. I won't figure it out. I'm not smart enough. Well, maybe, I don't know. But somebody hopefully will get an answer. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, if you keep putting that lobster in your head, I think it might come to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've
And
tried,
if there is a God, like, why would a God judge you for being honest about not knowing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really good question, because like, what kind of a God is he if you get to the end of your life and you appear before him and you're like, I didn't know, I didn't have sufficient knowledge. And he's like, well, that wasn't good enough. Now you're in trouble.
Yeah,
what kind of God is that?
Yeah, that's sort of incoherent. God,
or worse, if your logic drove you to find the wrong God, and then you're
right
anyway.
Right.
So you're like,
I think that if
the bottom line is you're doing your best.
Yeah, if you want to propose a being that is perfect, that entails perfect logic. So then that being would not offer us a reward or a punishment at all. It would be like, I'm not going to judge you one way or the other. You're just going to be like, here you are. Okay, here's your new existence, and this is how this stuff works. And now I'm finally going to explain all the stuff to you. And it's like, well, why didn't you do that before? And here's why. Well, that makes perfect sense, But we're not there yet. So, and maybe we'll never be there because there is no there.
Well, then there's the Calvinist approach, which is what I used to be as a Christian. Well, the reason they don't believe it's because God has judged them.
Yeah.
Well, he chose the rest to go to hell, and that's just the way God is.
Yeah. I mean,
that might be logical, but that's also extremely cruel. I can't imagine. Yeah. I don't understand why any Christian can with a straight face say that's
not a loving God. Nor is it.
I mean, if God gave them an internal moral compass to judge right from wrong, then they must know that that's cruel.
And then you got guys like me that thought they knew God for 42 years and that God revealed himself to them. And I was a Calvinist. I believed he chose me. And then what? He just dropped me? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. How old are you, Ellen?
Now I'm 48. I'm about to turn 49.
Okay. You said 42 like last week, and I was like, "Holy crap, you're 42!" And then I realized, you've been out for a while.
I'm still 18. I've been 18 for a while now.
You look at that.
My body doesn't seem to agree with that idea.
Well, hey, didn't somebody make a comment about time being non-linear and Eastern
mysticism?
So
Technically, there you go. Right.
So that he asked, what could be the benefits to an Eastern mysticism religion that doesn't view time as linear? Well, the benefit is seeing yourself as 18.
Yeah. I mean, denial is not just a river in Egypt,
So, Dan, any last minute thoughts to wrap up your story?
Learn logic. Always be willing to challenge what you hold most dear, and try to disprove it, not prove it, because disproving it will show if it's really true, you'll find ample evidence of it. But if it's not true, then you won't find evidence. So, hey, look, the Bible actually had something right. Seek and you shall find. It actually got that one right. Unfortunately, seeking the truth, you might find it to not be your religion. And that's your journey. So have a good one. And let me know if you need help, because I'm available, deconvertedman1@gmail.com, number 1, not the word 1. But people can email me if they want to do a talk on my channel, interview, whatever. And I'm up for it. I've done it before.
For $50 an hour, right?
Yeah.
Now I haven't been paid to do logic yet, so I'm still an amateur. But if somebody wants to pay me,
I'm more than happy to take your money.
And if you want to email Dan about abortion, it's
No.
Deconverted Man 2.
Right.
Elliot.
Yeah, that's right. AOL.com, right?
AOL. Nothing.
Remember GeoCities? Kids these days don't know what a 3x5 is, you know.
All right, all the laughing. I just want to make sure you heard me, Elliot. You good? Anything you want to say?
Man, I don't know. We need higher quality comments and questions. That's what I want to say.
Can I
actually relate to something we want to talk about.
Can I
do better? To anybody who's still watching, do better.
Yeah, do better. I mean, it's kind of in the back of my mind as a thing to mention, but I don't know that I should. But it's about a movie that your name's in, and I kind of want to mention it.
I haven't gotten that comment for probably 10 or 15 years. So congratulations.
Yay.
I don't know about this.
I got it all the time.
He knows what I'm talking about. I don't even have to say it. He knows.
I know. Come on, Ellen. You grew up in the 80s and 90s. You know what he's talking about.
Hey, Elliot. Opening Minds says, send us an idea of what you want. A lot of questions.
Anything having to do with Christianity. How about that? Like let's put the logic and the philosophy on the back burner, and let's talk about actual Christian doctrine, like the things that led us out of the faith, which is literally anything in the Bible.
Well, I mean, on my channel it's informal logic, so I'm happy to deal with that sort of thing. I want your argument for whatever your ideas are. I want a valid and sound argument. And so if you present me an argument, I can point out the fallacies, if any. And if I do, then please be willing to correct your fallacies.
Right.
So I'll happily discuss that sort of stuff on my channel. On here, I don't know what you guys normally do, but that's what I do.
As long as they, present an argument instead of just a comment or want to preach at us or call us atheist satire. Like actually bring something to the table we can work with.
Yeah, I love that insult. That was great. I've had better though.
I mean, there were a few of you that asked some tough questions, good questions, and I did say in the promo to bring any questions you want. So I can't not.
So this is your fault.
This is my fault. So we did have to entertain stuff because I said to do that. So I have no problem with it. Opening Minds, yes, I appreciate your questions here at the end, but I thought you definitely brought some good questions for us, and that was fine. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
So Ray Vine, my beautiful Brad, she says different interpretations of what God is. I think she's asking a question or suggesting what types of questions. I'm not really sure.
Probably suggesting, I would imagine. Because somebody asked, like, they wanted to know what we want.
Gotcha. Different interpretations of what
I want a single skeptical woman that will date me.
Oh, so like God is a flower, and then we can actually dialogue about that. Right. No, but it's true. Like that's helpful because as Dan was saying, we don't even know what God is. So these are all symptomatic questions and they're fun. But I think what these guys are suggesting is let's deal with the root issue first, and it's the existence of God.
Yeah,
how do you define God? Explain why you get there. How do you determine who God is? And like these are some good questions. And I know Elliot and I are willing to host people that want to come on and have an forum here for him and I to dialogue with you. So if you want to join us for an episode, let me know. Send me an email, alan@unravelation.com. It's ALAN@unravelation.com. Send me an email, or you can message me on Facebook.
Yeah, and for anybody who's watched our past interactions when we've had a guest come on, like we let them talk. We give them as much rope as they possibly want. Like when we had Samuel on, like Samuel talked for probably 60 to 70% of the time. So we're not bringing you on just to trash you and fight with you. Like we want to hear what you have to say.
Right. Agreed. So feel free to send me an email. We'd love to have you on because it's hard in a comments section to make your arguments. We get that. And so that's kind of unfair too. So we want to give you a chance to actually dialogue, and we can have that on our show anytime. just let me know. Jonathan Buttrey. That's who Open Minds with information. Cool. He says he's glad we're doing this. Thanks, Alan. Well, thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it. Jonathan's a great guy. I'm going to be having a conversation with him. I'm looking forward to that very, very much. Any other thoughts from you guys? I'm going to wrap things up here.
For Ray Vine, I put in the private chat a link to my blog where I wrote on different things about God quite some time ago. But yeah, so that's a thing. Yeah,
that's helpful.
I have a blog that I sometimes use. So
now you said you've actually written a book, right?
Oh yes. Caught Between an Infinite. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you want to give the title.
Yeah, Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, and Logic and Morals, and The Lightbringer. Those are all the books I have on Amazon.
The first one.
Okay, those are available on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah, the first one he mentions in the info below. Once you get there, then you can search his name as well and find the rest of them. So that'll get you there. His channel link is also there, so feel free to check that out. Also, the link to the Deconversionists is, Deconversion Nation on Facebook is also there in the links. Come join us if you are a person that's just got questions for Christians, for atheists, and you want to come and ask and get answers like we were trying to do here today. That is the right group for you, because we are there to engage your questions. That's what we want. We want Christians in there so that you guys can have a forum to ask questions, and it's a safe space. So nobody needs to know you're there. If you're questioning your faith, nobody will know. It's a private group. So come join us over there, answer the questions, and we would love to have you in there. And you'll get good answers.
And Deconverted Man approves of the Deconversionists. So you've got the seal of quality of approval. And I'm pretty sure the Lobster also agrees. So,
well, you can't beat that, man.
You can't beat that. That's right. No. I got to mention the Lobster. Don't ask why, okay? I had it before Peterson ever did. It's mine, darn it. Anyways, I'm okay.
You can also check out the Unraveler on YouTube as well if you're interested in what I'm doing over there. Right now, I have currently a 52-week series that drops Mondays and Thursdays at 4 p.m., sharing ideas on how to deal with losing faith or giving up faith. And I'm hoping I've heard a lot of great comments. People are really being helped by it. So I would encourage you to check that out. They're short little 6-minute, 7-minute clips, not long, but helpful. So you can do that. Then on the 28th, I am doing another formal debate with Reg Sappy. Looking forward to that, see what he's going to bring. And hopefully it's a little bit different than what Stephen brought, because personal experiences, I don't even know what to do with that. There's not much you can argue when somebody just says, what happened to me, so you just have to trust me.
I know we were gonna I just gotta say, the moment that was on that was him being like, just give up looking for evidence. I was like, oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
I had somebody argue with me in a group about that comment and telling me that I was like, by saying just mindlessly find God was not what he was saying. And I'm like,
that's exactly what he said.
What else does that mean? Like, and he said, well, you just have to have faith. I'm like, faith in what? Like, you're saying drop all the objective evidence for what I'm having faith in, and then you're telling me just have faith? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I got to that point with Matt Slick when I talked to him ages and ages ago. I said, all right, so my 3-tier system, empirical evidence, repeatable tests, a valid and sound argument. And I said, okay, let's say I'll drop all those. What do I do now? He's like, just become a Christian. I was like, okay, well,
I've heard him say that before. For these people, the only evidence that counts for them is a freaking book. Like, wow.
That
is amazing. If you write, that's why if they read your book,
that's
just as valid as the Bible.
Yeah, the Lobster. So I keep promoting it, but I want it to be a religion. Darn it! I mean, they do. I didn't make the book. I don't know. Well, I'm not saying I made the book. I'm not saying who made the book. I don't know.
Oh, all right, Dan. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you. It was great. My head hurts now.
I really
look forward to. Yeah, we're gonna find Simon and Theodore to join you next time. See, because I pointed out his name, so I had to do something with your name to make it even. No? Okay, whatever.
Man, it's 2 hours and 8 minutes. So yeah, I'm checked out too. Sorry.
Bye!
A lot of great questions. But again, thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. We really appreciate it. It wouldn't have been as fun without you. So we hope that you learned some things tonight, and hopefully we did as well. As you all know, every Christian has their own version of Christianity. We're here to unravel your conversion. Have a great night, everybody.